So we're back at it again with an Ackman video. Who doesn't love the Ackman? Commies. That is the correct answer. I'm so glad you're projecting correctly. Now, everyone's played Overwatch. Well, maybe most people have played Overwatch, and then everyone remembers that they did Overwatch 2 for some odd reason. Genuinely befuddled at that. Don't know why they did, but they did. And I didn't really look into it, but the Ackman made a video like 5 days ago talking about some certain things, so might as well go over it. I mean, it can't be that bad, right? I mean, granted, they're a gigantic corpa-borpa-ass company, and they probably did it for extra money. But surprise, surprise. Companies like money. Let's get into it.
What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today, Blizzard has finally given in. At last, they have admitted that Overwatch 2 was just one big silly mistake.
Right. Director's take opening the conversation on 5-on-5 and 6-on-6. I like it when it was 6-on-6. It's kind of dope. And they did this for some reason. I heard it was something about like professionals were complaining about this, and then the people who were watching Overwatch, the like on the competitive scene as well, they were like, it's really kind of annoying to see the same 6 every map every time from every team. So this happened, the 5-on-5 happened, but then I also heard that they just didn't have enough people to actually play the game, so they were like, okay, well, if we make less people in lobbies, it looks like there's more activity or something like that. I don't know how it tracks. I'm not a game dev. All I know is that seemed really stupid, and well, dead game lol.
Mistake. Or at least that is the implication we can draw, because they recently announced in a blog post that they were opening up the conversation on 5v5 and 6v6. Now, the fact that they are even considering returning to the old format from Overwatch 1 is a clear indication to me that this was not the right creative direction for Overwatch 2. It hasn't fulfilled its intended purpose for the developers or the fans. In other words, it's kind of like WoW Classic, right?
You don't want to do that either. You think you do, but you don't.
Yep, you guys are right. We fucked up our game again, and so we're just gonna go back to the thing that you liked and resell you that. Isn't it funny to think about this? Like, they spent...
What do you mean, like, resell? Just like, they're just gonna like rehash it again? They're not gonna like actually like sell it as another game, right? Because like, people thought Overwatch 2 was dumb, so if you're just gonna do Overwatch 3 and then make it a 6v6, I mean, you could probably fucking kill yourself at that point, right? That's fucking awful. Who does that?
All this time and effort adjusting the balance, mechanics, abilities, team compositions, and every facet of Overwatch.
Wow, they did significantly more than I was thinking they were gonna do. I didn't know all that.
To make it fit with 5v5. And now they have to undo all of that work. I might be the first to coin this term, but it's like they have to undevelop the game. This is undevelopment, where you screw up the game so bad you affect...
I forgot about that. Yeah, they took out the asses in the game because people that didn't play the game kept bitching and complaining about it, and they were like, well, that's not what a real woman looks like. I'm like, yeah, we kind of get it, but there's also, get this, there's also a gigantic brawl, like what sounds like an Austrian or German man swinging around a hammer fighting people with guns. None of this is real. Especially this dude right here, Hanzo. The dude fights with the bow. Like, that just doesn't happen anymore. Why are you complaining about it? That's crazy how they made a game out of the porn that they make. This is crazy because like the porn, bro, the fucking Rule 34 of this shit hit the internet like crack, bro, and it's still here. It's crazy that that is more interesting to look at, and more people know about that than they do the game because the game sucks. Like, you had to, I don't know who did the art for this, but they were in the lab cooking. They really were.
Effectively have to roll back like years worth of...
Just took that out of full screen. Then they got rid of the asses. I'm actually upset about that.
Of development. So today we're going to dive into this blog post and discuss the rise of Overwatch and how one of the most innovative games of the last decade wound up getting a pointless sequel.
Are you with me?
No.
But before we jump into it, fun fact, did you know every video game with craft in the title is a fucking banger? This is even more true with the sponsor of today's video, StarCraft. Set in the incredibly serious setting of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, you play as... one of these guys, in a fight to survive and extract.
Was this made on like a Roblox engine? Because I'm not gonna lie, it looks kind of dope.
Yes, I'm serious. Like, I was sold on the art style alone. It's hard to explain something you've never really seen before. StallCraft is a game that, while it looks blocky and goofy and fun, at the same time it's like gritty and dark. You get to enjoy both these simple and complex pleasures with StallCraft. Don't let the graphics fool you. StallCraft has surprisingly deep progression and customization. Now, I'm not big into extraction shooters myself, but I can tell you for certain this one is worth checking out. Especially when it goes for the low price of free. It's like a paradox of fun. Two concepts you—
Hold on, my boy said my favorite word's free? Free, you say. Free 99, that's crazy.
never imagine in your wildest dreams being crashed together into one solid experience. I'll sweeten the deal. If you download the game using the code TheActman24, I'll give you a free grab bag of goodies to start your journey off right. And you can download StallCraft for free today on Steam. Check the links in the description and pinned comment. And thank you, StallCraft, for—
You mean what? That actually looked kind of cool. We're gonna do all that. Just gonna drag that to my other monitor, and we're gonna take a look at that in just a minute. That looks kind of cool. There we go.
sponsoring this video.
And now for something completely different.
Now, first off, why the sudden decision to start shifting back to 6v6?
Also, well,
While the hero shooter genre is seeing a bit of a resurgence with Marvel Rivals, you should check out my video on that. The game's fucking incredible. Highly recommend. Also put a link in the description and pinned comment. Also, come join my—
here. This shirt, this is a fantastic shirt. I just wanted to say that. It was literally the first thing I noticed.
public Discord server, the Act Clan. It's awesome in there. But there's also Sony's Concord coming out in a few weeks. Valve is working on their own hero shooter, which got leaked, I think, a few months ago. So there's mounting competition and pressure, and perhaps Blizzard was faced with a decision to preemptively adapt Overwatch for when these new hero shooters come out. It just so happens that Marvel Rivals started its closed beta period one day after Blizzard made this announcement, so it could very well be a coincidence, but as one trained in the Force.
You know that true coincidences are rare.
Now, I'm certainly one of many who jumped ship or lost interest in Overwatch after 2 came out, and I've been looking for something to fill that void, and I think it's for the same reason people are willing to deal with the bullshit of Battlestate Games and Escape from Tarkov.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
That they're sticking with Overwatch. I'll bet thousands of gamers find themselves dealing with Overwatch 2 simply because nothing else on the market feels quite like it.
It's crazy because he's speaking directly to me. I feel like he made this video for me because yes, 100%. But also at the same time, it doesn't have the magic it used to for various reasons. And really the only reason I still play is because other people also play. It's one of those things where I feel like people are just pretending to like this because it's been here and people liked it at one point. Now it's just it's fucking this now. 5v5. Ugh.
And if you want something that fulfills that old Overwatch vibe, Marvel Rivals it's looking pretty good. But with these new hero shooters coming out, there might be some actual competition, you know? And it's alluring. The idea of going back in time when Overwatch was king, at its peak, when everyone loved it. I've recently been watching some of their old cinematics, and my god, you're just transported to a different time. When Blizzard was still a pretty good company. How the times change.
You think now they steal people's breast milk and make fun of women. Only one of those is based. The other one's stealing breast milk. What the fuck? So weird, bro. Loose ass.
You honor your brother Genji with incense and offerings? Honor resides in one's actions. You dare to lecture me about honor? You are not worthy to say his name! Ryuga wagateki wo kurau!
And that's the thing, it's hard to look back on these cinematics because
That cinematic was actually fucking fire.
none of this ever panned out in the actual game. A PvE story mode was the most requested feature for so many years, and after like 2 years of marketing, Blizzard abandoned that.
Time to abandon ship.
They showed—
Wait.
and after like 2 years of marketing, Blizzard abandoned that.
side note, have you seen the actual story for this guy, General Grievous? Have you seen the story? If you haven't, again, we'll side note, go check it out. It's a fucking banger.
Time to abandon ship.
They showed us that they didn't care about this story, and so neither should we. But I want to take a quick crash course into what went wrong with Overwatch 2. Now, this part of the video could be 30 minutes, but we're going to keep it short. Around 2019, we started seeing fewer updates to Overwatch 1 because Blizzard was focusing on a sequel. So for a couple years, fans were starved for new content. But when Overwatch 2 was announced, hype was at its peak. Kind of, but because of the expansive talent trees, all these new abilities, a focus on story, and most importantly, this highly anticipated PvE mode, fans were somewhat skeptical when it was revealed the game would shift to 5v5 instead of 6v6, and especially that Overwatch 2 would replace the base game. So if it wasn't an objective improvement in every way, that would piss people off, because they wouldn't be able to go back and play a previous version if they didn't like the new one. Blizzard's fuck-ups didn't end there. They then decided to release Overwatch 2's PvP sooner and delay the PvE to later. The game released with god-awful monetization. We all thought loot boxes were bad. Somehow it got worse to a level that not even EA could compete with. Unlocking every cosmetic without spending money would have taken 327 years to do without paying money. That is not a joke. Additionally, when the game launched, you couldn't log into the servers unless you provided Blizzard with your phone number.
Do you guys not have phones? Yeah.
Your birth certificate and the name and address of the doctor who delivered you. Then in May of 2023, Blizzard announced that the extensive PvE plans, whoops, not doing that. Sorry, we used that to promote the game. We're scrapping that in favor of these story-based events that you can pay $15 for. Oh, looks like nobody did that.
I forgot about that. They wanted to make people pay $15 for stories, bro? Yo, eat my dick.
March 2024, Jason Schreier reported that the PvE missions didn't sell well enough, and the entire PvE was scrapped moving forward. Quite the clusterfuck of bad decisions. Maybe a month after Overwatch 2 came out, I stopped playing it, kind of lost interest. And here's the thing, Overwatch will always be fun on a fundamental level, but the deception and lies perpetuated by Blizzard and Activision executives, I think has forever tarnished the game and my perception around it. Maybe I'll try it again at some point, but So now we're going to take a look at this blog post. Now it is pretty lengthy, so I'm going to just try to keep the most important parts and discuss the direction of the game. There's been a lot of talk about 6v6 lately, and it's only intensified in recent weeks. This is a pretty complex and nuanced topic, and it gets to the beating heart of what makes this game tick. Our players have different opinions and preferences about the ideal number of players in an Overwatch match, and so does our team. I think this kind of just goes back to the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm still really not sure what 5v5 was supposed to do or improve on the formula. Sure, the idea of having fewer players means each player's contribution is more meaningful. I mean, that stands up in FPS games. You look at Battlefield, right? But it never really felt like it in Overwatch 2. It just felt like if you were a tank, the pressure was on you.
What is, like, I guess these were the missions, like the story missions, because what the fuck even is this? I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
Twice as much, which also eliminated like the off-tank role, kind of like Zarya. I'd like to set a few expectations and ground rules. First, it's pretty long. Creators are going to lose their voices reading this one aloud. You got me there. This is a game and your preference for fun is relative to your own tastes, ability, and experience. Lastly, there are years of decisions that affect such a fundamental piece of Overwatch. I'd like to set the stage and give some context on some of the larger changes to the game that ultimately culminated in the 5v5 format we have today. So
thank God they're actually going to break that down, because I was wondering why would you do this? This was garbage. I don't understand. But okay, I guess we're here.
Historical context section pretty much just runs through the history of development and how they settled on 6v6 and the problems with duplicate heroes and whatnot. And originally it sounds like they had planned to balance the game around no limits, which would have been kind of silly. And they say the variety was great, but we didn't feel like we could ever truly balance the game without severely watering down our heroes. So we made the choice to impose a limit of one of each hero per team. A theme of this and future decisions was limiting match variety as well as player freedom and creativity in order to create a more balanced, consistent, and competitive experience for players. And that's totally fair. I think when Overwatch first came out and everybody was experiencing this type of game for the first time, those non-TF2 fans. No Limits was fun. It was wacky. It was crazy. Obviously,
When you
experiencing this type of game for the first time, those non-TF2 fans. No Limits was
this specific thing right here, I remember having so much goddamn fun doing this with Symmetra, because at that point her laser was like auto-locked, kind of like Moira, and just literally at that point we would just run up to the tank and suck him dry, and then run to the next person and suck them dry. Oh man, that was great. What a fun fucking time. Either that or Junkrat, just because it was really fucking annoying.
fun. It was wacky. It was crazy. Obviously, I think everybody knew the game competitively wasn't supposed to be balanced around No Limits, but now it's a fun, like, little side mode. And I think Overwatch is a game that can be both wacky, crazy, competitive, and casual. But it is really hard to balance a game that can fulfill all three types of gameplay. If someone wanted to play Tracer, but you were already Tracer, they would... Wait a second. Oh god, PTSD flashbacks.
This was fucking awful when it happened. Holy shit. Like, I get it. That song was made by Living Tombstone, by the way. Living Tombstone's an actual legend. GOAT in and of himself, right? But, oh my god, he made that. I guess he had, like, no intention, or just didn't know that something like this was gonna happen. And this thing was like an earworm for what felt like a whole year. You just couldn't get away from it. Everyone was referencing that shit, and god damn it, was it fucking awful.
I'm already Tracer. The second large change to the game's format was the move from open queue to roll queue, which limited team composition.
They need to give Hanzo back a scatter arrows. I'm just gonna say it. Like, I know people didn't like it. I understand people didn't like it, but as someone who played Hanzo, shit was fire, bro.
To two heroes from each role. Again, I think roll queue is fine, but I don't see what the issue with having two ranked playlists is, right? Ranked roll queue, ranked open queue. Open queue, you get more creativity and you could do like 3 DPS, 2 healers, 1 tank, 3 tanks, 3 healers, whatever. I think my issues with roll queue stemmed from it being like mandatory in almost all facets of play, either competitive or casual. Also, why couldn't you have done an experimental 5v5 mode with how the game was balanced in the first game? I don't know. No, we had to make an entirely new game for that. Then it talks about role balance and how DPS is the most popular role. Yeah, and I think that just stems from healers and tanks not being as fun to play. Personally, I always found them fun to play, but once players started getting...
I kind of feel that. It kind of depended on who it was, because, like, if I was soloing, I'm not playing a tank. Like, I'm just not doing that. I'll play a healer every once in a while just because I know I had to, but your boy out here, you already know, was playing Hanzo, was playing Widowmaker, bro. If we look... well, we're not gonna, because I don't have the game installed anymore, but when we do, or if we do look at some point in the future, you'll know that the only person I did play was Widowmaker. I have 67 hours on her, and the next closest person only had 23. Like, I'm telling you, I was a Widow main, sitting down shitter since whenever this game came out. I actually don't remember. I don't care. That game will.
Getting good at Overwatch, it didn't take too long for like competitive sweats to kind of ruin the experience. And I will say this, no matter what you have to say about Overwatch, the fact that they're trying to fix the game, or at least go back to what was better, you know, I can commend Blizzard for doing that. Yeah, and then this section talks about how roll queue introduced longer queue times because it was mandatory and some people didn't like it. They talk about how they tried to incentivize people to play tank or healer and it didn't really work. Again, I think Marvel Rivals has a lot of really fun healers. Like Loki.
Is this Adam? Hold on.
How they tried to incentivize people to play tank or healer and it didn't really work. Again, I think...
Okay, so Rocket, can't really see, don't know. Pretty sure that's Groot. Is this Adam? I don't know who that is, but that looks... Wow, this looks ridiculously like Overwatch, but like the UI kind of looks better to me, I'm not gonna lie to you. Huh.
I think Marvel Rivals has a lot of really fun healers. Like Loki has a bunch of trickery mechanics and he can copy an enemy hero's entire moveset. So at least for part of the match, he can play as any role. There were additional drawbacks with roll queue I mentioned earlier that many of our decisions made improvements to the game at the cost of match variety.
We're probably gonna have to check that out, aren't we?
and player freedom. Team comps were now locked at 2-2-2. This was another step to a more consistent experience within Overwatch, but sometimes consistency can start to feel samey. Yeah, and that highlights one of the big problems with role queue is that it limited your options for counter picking and variety of matches. And I think that's when I started to, you know, play Overwatch a bit less because I feel like my matches were predetermined to be a certain way. Like I said, could have just had 2 ranked playlists, 2 casual playlists, 1 open, 1 role queue. Why we switched to 5v5. When we launched Overwatch 2, we talked about the greater individual agency that players could have in 5v5. Overwatch is a team sport and it requires players to rely on each other to be successful. Many times fights in 6v6 couldn't resolve until ultimate abilities came online. Correct that, until ultimate combos could be executed to break through 2 tanks worth of mitigation supported by high uncontested healing output. The world of 6v6 could have really high highs but really low lows. One of the design goals of 5v5 was to try to raise that floor, even though it was at the expense of some of those high moments. I don't know, I guess it kind of worked like in 5v5. It's
like, I'm not saying it's a skill issue, but at that same time, it sounds like a skill issue. But I don't know.
Easier to break lines, but I think it's also just generally less fun. This was also back when there was more CC and hard crowd control to single out targets.
Happy birthday, ABC Feels birthday, man. Happy birthday, CXQC Feels birthday, man.
And a quick side note, I want to say that I appreciate them being so transparent about the reasons for their design choices and the pros and cons of each. Here it talks about damage heroes complained that their role was the least impactful, support heroes had to focus almost exclusively on healing, and tank synergy wasn't always fun. But that these things were kind of fixed and addressed in 5v5, so then the question is, why are we thinking about going back to it? While 6v6 can have high moments, it's also hard to follow. Tracking 9 other players is easier than 11, fewer visual effects, especially during big team fights. Moving to 5v5 made it more cognitively manageable. Lastly, one of the biggest benefits of 5v5 was dramatically reduced queue times. And as you can see here, holy shit, 7.6 minutes to play one match of Overwatch that could last less than that. But see how this only talks about post role queue and not open queue? I feel like that's important. Like open queue times back in Overwatch.
You saw that scatter arrow right there? Yeah, you get shit like that. God, I'm like a little old Hanzo. When they changed them, I'm not gonna lie, I dead ass thought about like just dropping the game. Man, old Hanzo's great.
Watch, it was rare to wait more than 1 minute, I'll be completely honest. So this makes sense, right? The actual ratio of players queuing for tank damage and support is much closer to 1-2-2 than 2-2-2. As a result, this format better mirrors actual player interest in each role. So 5v5 was basically a solution to a problem that was introduced to solve another solution, role queue. It seems like role queue is just the problem. Was it really worth redesigning all of the champions and abilities just to shorten the queue time when you could have done that a different way? Thoughts on 6v6? The game started its life with 6 players on each team. There were moments in madness that could happen with 12 players in a match that just don't quite coalesce when there are 10. It was almost too much to keep track of. Correction, it was too much to keep track of at times, but that was part of the charm. Exactly. I 100% agree. There are big moments in Overwatch 2, but they don't quite have that same chaotic, over-the-top feeling to them. Part of that chaos allowed players to feel less pressure in a match. It's like he's reading my mind.
Oh, that should clean everyone. There we go. Nice.
Oh my
I put
god.
everyone down for you, dog.
Oh,
I saved in that
wow.
clip. Nice.
I can't wait to see that replayed.
There was an extra player to take up a bit of slack for someone who is performing poorly. And I also felt like, again, because Overwatch was inspired by MOBAs, which are 5v5, 6v6 made the game stand out. So what's next? Because of the challenges mentioned previously, we are focused on making 5v5 the best experience it can be. However, because we operate as a service to our players, we always remain open-minded to reevaluating our decisions based on your actions and feedback.
As interesting as all of this is, I don't know why they couldn't just put a 5v5 and then a 6v6. So if you really wanted to play either or, you could just play either or. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not a game dev, but I feel like you could have just done that instead of doing like Overwatch 2. But I just like a nigga with a rocket launcher, I guess.
Be the best game experience we can, rather than introduce a disruptive permanent change to the game. Oh, you mean like Role queue? You mean like the existence of Overwatch 2 eliminating the first game? That was pretty disruptive and permanent. With that said, we're looking at running a series of events to try out different core team composition formats in Overwatch 2. The community has just once or twice suggested a test. Why not put various forms of 6v6 in the game in order to gauge the results? We agreed, and we're going to test out different forms of 6v6. So yeah, the main gist is that they're going to try 6v6. They acknowledge the problems with 5v5 and the problems with queue times that they haven't really completely figured out. Overall, I think this is a pretty good, insightful blog post. Shockingly, there's not much for me to make fun of, but I want to read some of the comments. I can't help but wonder, what if Overwatch 1 and 2 had remained separate games? Would 6v6 still have been such a hot topic within the community? Could you experiment with adding a third-person mode? The question of what if these had remained two separate
mode, I feel like would also be kind of crazy.
games is kind of like superfluous, because they would have never done that in the first place. What, are people gonna pay money for cosmetics for two separate games? They just should have done the fucking PvE mode. It would have solved all of our problems. But if Overwatch 2 goes back to 6v6, then one of the biggest changes and reasons for Overwatch 2 existing would be removed, effectively making Overwatch 2 a pointless sequel. Like I said at the start,
Personally, I just feel like I feel like most people. Jesus Christ, gonna stretch. I feel like most people see it kind of as a pointless sequel. I saw it as a pointless sequel. I feel like it didn't need to be made, like, at all. Like, the game was fun the way it was, and then it just seems like they started. Well, in Overwatch 1, they just stopped doing stuff with it, and now it's 2, and then made this, and like this is just kind of boring, to be honest. But again, I'm not a game dev. I wish they went back to 6v6, but who knows what they'll do.
the fact that they're even considering 6v6 is kind of an indication.
Also, I don't know if he's gonna say it, but I'll say it. I feel like it's a little too late, to be honest. Like, I mean, you can say it now, and I mean, that's cool, but I feel like not enough people are gonna be like, oh, they're doing 6v6 again, I'm gonna have to go back and play. I feel like it'll be, well, we're doing 6v6, all these other things are coming out, all these other things look better, so we're just gonna stick with what looks better. You know what I mean? At least that's what more than likely I would do. Because Rivals looks sick. Also, you can play as Loki. It's already over for you. I'm playing Loki. I'll be the best Loki this side of Mason Dixie. You feel me?
That 5v5 was not the direction to go. I personally think there were more pros to 6v6 than 5v5, but maybe some players will just be happy enough experiencing Overwatch 2 like they did the first game. And so for some, that might be all they need. But at the end of the day, I'm still left wondering, what was the point of all of this? Basically, every update they've had to Overwatch 2 could have just been an update to the base game. But what do you think? Do you still play Overwatch 2? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to The Act Man for more awesome content. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is The Act Man signing out. Peace!
I wanna be Winston.
No, we're not. No. Well, I mean, he pretty much said it. You know, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. To The Act Man, of course. But yeah, I mean, do y'all plan on playing it again? I mean, like, if it goes back to 6v6 the way it once was, do y'all plan on playing it again? I don't know if I will. I don't see a reason to go back. I mean, 6v6 was fun. I mean, I will get a chance to play Zarya again, because she was also great as, like, not a tank, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do and when they do it, and what these other hero shooters will look like when they come out. So, other than that, y'all have a good one. Ciao for now.